it on. Okay, so good evening, ladies. Thank you so much for joining the call this evening. Thank you for my guest speakers that are going to be on the call tonight. For those that don't know me, I'm Zoe. I'm a fellow menopause sufferer, and I'm so delighted to be delivering these calls on a monthly basis, Menopause Monday. Although I think next month there's so many bank holidays, Menopause Monday might have to take place on a Tuesday. So I've actually been doing these calls now for just over a year. I actually started my first call last March, and I recently completed a menopause course, so I'm now officially a menopause doula. So I can help and support ladies going through the menopause. Actually, can I just mute some people because I think there's a bit of background noise and it's a bit distracting, sorry. Or if you can mute yourselves, would be really helpful actually. If you're not on mute, if you can mute yourself, that would be great. Yeah, so I've been doing this course and it's been really interesting. I mean, over the last few years, I've learned so much wellness and menopause and nutrition and diet and lifestyle. And I think this course has definitely highlighted for me how important it is, that we should be looking after ourselves in terms of our diet, our lifestyle and our nutrition. So just to sort of give you a bit of information, really, I mean, for those that have not been on my calls before, when we start our perimenopause journey, this is when our hormones in our body start to massively fluctuate, which leads to obvious changes and symptoms that we see in our bodies. So we are not in menopause until we have gone 12 consecutive months without a period. And this is actually menopause day. Menopause is actually one day. And then we're in postmenopause then for the rest of our lives. So at this point, our hormones have declined. So it's basically like a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. They're almost right down here now. And we have estrogen receptors in cells all over our body, and they are activated by the hormone estrogen. And the circulating estrogens attach to the receptors and form an integral part of our bodily function. So our diet, nutrition, and lifestyle can have such an effect on these receptors. So if we put our bodies under prolonged stress, poor nutrition, no movement, poor sleep, this causes inflammation, which can disrupt the hormones. So sleep, stress, movement being exercise, and the foods that we choose to eat and drink have a direct impact on hormone levels, like cortisol, which is our stress hormone, and that can have an effect on our metabolism and our stress levels, and insulin, which regulates our blood sugar levels. So high cortisol can also lead to weight gain and other, the other things that we see going on when we're going through the menopause. So we do need to be fueling our body rich in whole foods, cut out refined sugars, processed foods. We shouldn't be focusing on cutting out calories because this generally cuts out nutrients. So we should be getting a good balance of healthy fats, carbs and protein. Certainly stay hydrated and drink plenty of water, and I would aim for a minimum of 2 litres a day. And exercise is essential, just keep moving. So that's just a little bit about menopause, but now I'm going to introduce you to Hazel. Hazel is a psychotherapeutic counsellor, and she actually works within the NHS, and she's also got a private practice as well. So, and she helps women going through the menopause. So Hazel, if you'd like to unmute yourself and come on and tell us a bit about what it is that you do.
Hi everyone, good to be here with you all. I love that, Zoe. I'm a fellow menopause sufferer. Yeah, so I guess I'm in post-menopause, although I finished bleeding a year in January this year, and then I ended up having a couple of bleeds. So I had to go and get all that checked out. So but actually everything's fine. I've had my MOT, and I'd highly recommend a bit of an MOT, to be honest, because it put me at rest to know that everything was okay, and it was just a random egg actually, or something like that. But yeah, I'm a psychotherapeutic counsellor, and I'm also a rite of passage facilitator. So my work within the NHS is working with people, you know, who are facing all kinds of mental health issues. But it is amazing how many people, how many women and people who've menstruated in their life are turning to therapy, you know, around midlife. And lots of people come and they say, I don't feel like myself. I just want my old self back. I can't sleep, and I've got this and the other. And they don't even know that actually what they are experiencing is perimenopause. So straight away, that you know makes me feel really surprised and sad actually that so many women are going through this experience and not actually really knowing what's going on. For me, now I'm looking back, I think I started my perimenopause, I had children late. So my cycles never settled down from the age of 40. But really, my symptoms kicked off actually in lockdown, which was really very stressful for my family. And what it made me realize is that I really, really need to get a handle on my stress levels. Because as soon as I get stressed, the hot flushes, the sleepless nights, the brain fog, the aches in my limbs get worse, and they just do. So that sent me on a bit of a path, and I was thinking, there's got to be a meaningful way to celebrate this, you know, time of our lives. I refuse to believe that that's the end of my, you know, vivacious life, that I'm going to start shriveling up and, you know, becoming older, and that that's a negative thing. And so that started my searching really, and really my work as a rites of passage facilitator. You know, mainly it'll be weddings and, you know, funerals and birth blessings and that kind of thing, but also, you know, celebrating menarche, so young girls who are starting their periods. And as I started to go through my menopause, I thought there's got to be a celebration for women and people who menstruate coming out of their fertile years. And I have found a lot of people thinking along these lines, and it's really exciting. And if we go back to the thoughts of, you know, ancient people and more indigenous people, they still celebrate this time as an incredible time of change and transition, where, you know, we are kind of relinquished from those cycles. And there might be some grief in that as well. I actually did feel quite sad in the end, even though, you know, it was always a pain, and I did have pain, and, you know, dealing with your monthly cycles and bleeds, you know, there is something about loss in that for me, in that transition of who I've been for over 30 years and where I am now. So yeah, totally agreeing with everything Zoe's saying about lifestyle. And I think that can be quite overwhelming. But I think what I want to say in simple terms is you're not alone. You're not going mad. This is not a disease. This is a completely natural, normal, and really actually ultimately freeing process in our lives. A lot of older women that do menopause well say, through the writings I've read and also podcasts and things I've listened to, this is the prime of their life. They're now free. They don't need to worry about their cycles, about getting pregnant, about not being able to get pregnant, or whatever that has meant for them. And now they can really step up into the world in a different way. And I feel really inspired by that. And I'm going for that one.
I love that. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, and you know, there's loads of things I could say, but I think if I was to distill it into very simple terms, it would be reduce your stress, whatever that means to you. Find calm and kindness towards yourself. This is a window of opportunity to address some of the stuff that's been flying around in your system up to now. And it's really important that we do that for our long-term health. It is unfortunately facing some of the nasties that have happened to us emotionally, physically, and it is looking after our bodies in a different way. But this doesn't have to be kind of the beginning of the end of our life, as it were, even though obviously we're halfway through. This can be really liberating. And I honestly fully believe that. I really do. And in terms of health stuff, you know, whatever you can do to reduce the inflammation in your body is going to reduce your symptoms. So stress causes inflammation, foods, alcohol, stimulants, yeah, all the things we love. But, you know, it doesn't mean that we can't do them, just means that we need to do them carefully and mindfully, and a little bit of what your fancy does you good. That rule. Yeah, so I think that's probably enough for me. But I'm happy to answer any questions later. If you like, I want to introduce Vicky, who's on my screen. She's in the corner in the top right. Vicky Pellet, wave Vicky, is sitting in
Hi,
her
Vicky.
car. Freezing. So Vicky is helping me with my work, which I guess we're going to talk about a bit later, just in case anybody wants to get in touch. Vicky is my all singing, all dancing technical crew. Woohoo for Vicky. So yeah, it's really lovely
Awesome.
to be here, and I'm happy to answer any questions in a bit.
Lovely. Oh, that's great. Well, thank you ever so much for that, Hazel. That's very interesting. And I think, again, you know, it's quite aligned, isn't it, with what I was saying in terms of, you know, managing sort of the stress levels, the whole, you know, diet, nutrition and lifestyle is absolutely key. You know, we can all, you know, there's HRT, which is great. You know, we can stick a patch on or rub the gel on. But I think alongside that, we do really need to be looking at our lifestyle as a whole. And make those changes to you know, moving forward so that we can enjoy life without those horrid symptoms. So I mean, just to give you a bit of background on me, really, I mean, as I mentioned, I'm a fellow menopause sufferer. So I mean, I was suffering with all the symptoms, you know, the hot flushes, the night sweats. I wasn't sleeping. The aches and pains for me were just the worst thing. And actually, looking back, I mean, I'll be 50 this year. And I think looking back, I probably started my symptoms when I was 40. And I always remember my mum saying that, oh, when you hit 40, that's when all your aches and pains will kick in. And absolutely, that's what happened to me. And probably for about 6 years, I suffered, you know, and I saw a sports therapist. You know, I had a really bad neck, and, you know, I paid a lot of money to have massages and all of that kind of thing. And at the time, I think I went for my smear and I mentioned it to the nurse, and, you know, she said at the time that actually HRT wouldn't be on offer to me because they were in short supply back then. Not that I was necessarily going to go down the HRT route, but it wasn't really an option for me. And then she said to me, actually, if you can, you know, there's some really good natural products out there. So if you can source a natural product, you know, then she said, I'd recommend that you do that. And funny enough, I stumbled across just that. So I take a number of different products, and they've really contributed to helping me improve my health, certainly since I've hit menopause. So I take premium capsules, which in a nutshell are the equivalent of 30 varieties of fruit, veg and berries, raw fruit, veg and berries. And they've given me great energy levels. My immune system's really strong. I hardly get coughs and colds. But for me, the product that I really noticed my symptoms started to disappear was the vegan omega capsule. Within 4 weeks, I noticed that my hot flushes, my night sweats had stopped. And I was sleeping better, and my aches and pains, oh my God, my aches and pains, I wasn't waking up with that horrible feeling of aches all over, especially in my neck and my knee. So that for me was a huge thing. My brain fog has definitely improved. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's definitely improved, and my mood. So we have a product stories group, and it's got so many testimonials in there of people who have had great improvements since they've been on our product. So, and there's lots in there on menopause. So if you're not in that group and you would like to be added to check those out, then just contact the person that invited you to the call. And on that note, I would like to introduce you to my next guest speaker, who is Pamela. Now, I met Pamela a couple of years ago, and Pamela, I think, has had an incredible journey, not just on menopause, but in her health generally. So, Pamela, would you like to tell us, how life was for you when you were struggling, and what you did, and how you're feeling now?
Well, thank you, Zoe, very much for inviting me along this evening. And I have to say, I have to say to Hazel, what an inspiring words you had to share with the group this evening. So thank you for that. So yes, my experience was rather similar, I suppose, to a lot of menopausal women, but I went into the menopause when I was 50. So first of all, I didn't introduce myself properly. I'm Pamela Johnston from Northern Ireland. I have to get Northern Ireland in here now, Zoe. And I work as a full-time theatre nurse. So I started to have menopause symptoms. I was really struggling at work. That's where I first noticed it. My concentration, my ability to recall. I was in the middle of, conversation on the phone, and I was like, oh, what did I just say there? What? I thought, my goodness, I feel like I'm like losing my mind here. And at the time, I was under a lot of stress from, family circumstance. My dad was very unwell. As often is the case when we were hitting our midlife, we were looking after our parents. We have lots of other stress factors. And sometimes, and certainly in my case, I put it down to stress. And then what I didn't understand was I just assumed because my dad was unwell that this anxiety that I was starting to feel was just related to that. But then as time went on, and I mean time, I left it for I would say a couple of years. I really was struggling silently. And I just assumed it was all these other things. I thought work, I was just busy under pressure, and I could put it down to that as well. I didn't really tie in all the signs. Now, I just assumed menopause was hot flushes and night sweats, because that's what you always heard mostly talked about. You didn't really hear anything about anxiety. You didn't hear anything about brain fog, not being able to remember your name, coming home exhausted, not being fit to function. And that's the way I felt. I was on this cycle of, just always tired, and everybody said, how are you doing? Oh, I'm really tired. I just felt that's all I ever was saying. So I noticed I was literally working, coming home, just maybe having something to eat, just really tired, falling asleep, and and I had insomnia then as well. So I also had underactive thyroid, and I had rheumatoid arthritis. So you sort of get a bit muddled with what is what. But one thing I can definitely say is always the same as yourself. My joint pain was absolutely awful. And to the point I needed steroid injections. And again, I thought it's my arthritis just flared up. Didn't connect the two either. And I think that is why so many women do struggle and don't get their symptoms dealt with, because you just put it down to so many other things. But then I think my crisis point came whenever just the anxiety just was so bad. I literally felt I wasn't fit to function, and I really, truly did consider giving up my job. When I say with full-time theatre nurse, I'm actually full-time theatre manager, and that job is definitely needs your concentration. You need to be on it, and you're just making a lot of decisions. And I just thought, I can't make these decisions. I'm not making them quick enough. And your people are looking to you for answers and solutions. And I thought normally I would just be able to go, yes, do this, this, and this. And I was going, now let me think about that. And I knew I wasn't as responsive. So I had been in and out of health shops for quite a period of time, was looking for a natural, solution to the problem, and I couldn't find anything that really helped. My main other problem then was lack of energy, was putting on weight, and I was always a very active person. I would have been running marathons and out running, and I felt I couldn't do any of that. I literally was enough just to go for a short walk, and that was it. So I knew something was badly wrong. So then, obviously I was reading up a bit on menopause and started to realize that some of these symptoms that I was experiencing were menopausal. And at that time, because I'm now 56, so 6 years ago, there wasn't a lot of chat about menopause. And so you think as a nurse, I would know more, but literally there was no policies, no nothing in the hospital, and there was nothing really to support menopausal women in the workplace. So I frustrated, I went to my GP and I said, look, I think I need HRT because my mood, I felt anxiety, then I had low mood as well alongside that. So I went on to HRT patch, and I did find the hot flush, the night sweats went, but the pains, the joint pains, the aches didn't, and the low mood didn't change. So I really felt it wasn't helping me entirely. Plus, I looked Mrs. Blobby because I took an allergic reaction to the patches, so I had all these pink patches all over my bum. So
Oh
it
no.
wasn't, to me, on top of everything else, it was not a good look. So basically then I, a bit like yourself, Joey, stumbled across the natural product because I literally was at an all-time low, and that was 2.5 years ago. And literally my life has changed, but I just wanted to sort of give the background. And I am living life to the full again, and I can say I enjoy life. I'm happy again, and I'm not miserable, and I'm happy at my work, and I enjoy my relationships. And that was the other thing I found as well. My relationship really, really suffered. And like my partner was very patient, I have to say, but you're not in good form. You've got highs and lows. You're feeling irritable for no reason. You're sort of lashing out for no reason, and you don't realize it's just your hormones are in such flux. So an old friend had got in touch with me, and she was on these products that Zoe is talking about. And I went on the raw fruit, veg, and berries and omegas and a protein powder. So I always thought protein powders, I thought they were for bodybuilders. I didn't realize us women needed protein, extra protein for energy and for also our muscle. I didn't understand all of that. So I went on this detox program at the same time, and it was just unbelievable, the relief I got. Initially I would have seen the energy, after about 10 days. Then I started to notice other things, changing as well. And the pain was starting to disappear. I felt better. I had a nice glow. People were saying, what are you doing? You've got a good glow. And I said, I don't know how I have a glow, because at that time you were just so busy at work, and it was in the middle of COVID. I felt far from glowing, but I had this glow from the products. And then I noticed just little things as time went on. The weight started to come off, and that was my biggest celebration. No point saying different. I was just delighted that I was able to lose some weight, because that was the thing with the menopause. I literally never had a tummy. I never had put on weight, and I just couldn't shift it for love nor money. I just could not shift it. So to lose that weight, it was 6.5 pounds off after like 10 days. I was just so pleased. But how I felt myself, and a good feel factor that I got me back again, because I honestly thought I'd lost myself. And just having that, sense of achievement that I actually was looking after my health and was doing something for me. And now I actually used to say it was the menopause hell. I couldn't say one good word about the menopause. And it was the menopause curse. Anything I could say negative about the menopause, I did. But now I see there's hope. And I do agree with Hazel and Zoe as well. So, exercise, not just, one thing. It's going out and getting exercise, fresh air, and, eating the right foods, like eating lots of fruit and veg and berries, and, healthy, fish and salads and different things like that as well. Because I'm getting plenty of sleep. But I couldn't sleep either during the menopause. So now I've got my sleep back. I literally couldn't sleep for years. I was struggling, and that probably impacted on the lack of concentration as well. But I'm just so delighted that I feel so well again. And other benefits that I had, you wouldn't hardly think it now, because my hair is quite thick, but I had like bald patch up here as well, and that came back as well. The hair regrowth, and I didn't notice it for months and months, and because I started parting my hair a different position. So then I just one day I thought, oh my goodness, my hair's come back. So I haven't read up on the omegas. I do think that was down to the omega capsules. So they're all plant-based, and they're fabulous. So I was really thrilled and delighted then, after the 4-month period when I had been just following healthy eating, getting just exercise, and then I was sleeping better. I was taking these products, which were amazing. My blood pressure had come down, and my cholesterol levels had come down naturally as well. So, I mean, it was just, I had such great results. But I think the best part is just feeling normal again. And my partner said, he said, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Because he was happier, because he got me back. I was probably just a nightmare to live with, quite frankly. But I just felt, menopause is, yeah, I would. It's just finding something that suits the individual. Everyone has different experiences. That's one thing I know as well. And some women have their experience are a lot more severe than others, and some maybe not so much, And I have a friend who's very little symptoms, but you know, um, it's just to understand that you're not going mad. Definitely, there's hope out there. And I love, getting out for my walks and do paddleboard and do other like adventures and sports, and getting a bit swimming, which I wouldn't have, had the interest to do any of that. And just have your interest back and enjoy life again. Have your energy to enjoy things, enjoy your family and your friends. I'm just, that's why I wanted, to share, my experience with other women, just, to say, yes, there is hope out there. But thank you. That's my story. So hopefully that might help someone this evening.
Oh, that's amazing, Pamela. Thank you so much. I mean, I know obviously we've spoken a lot, haven't we? Because I mean, we met really through the fact that we both take these products and the business that we joined. Because Pamela, like she she's gone on to recommend the products to other people as well. So, I mean, a lot of people on this call are probably thinking, what is so special about these these omegas that we take, because there's so many others out there in the market. Well, ours have a blend of 3 different omega fatty acids, which is omegas 3, 7, and 9. And our bodies can't naturally produce omega fatty acids, so these really do bridge the gap with what we're not actually getting in our diet every day. And we've recently upgraded our formula, so the new formula actually include vitamin D3, zinc, lutein, and lycopene. And this is all sort of a natural food supplement, and it can be taken alongside HRT as well. There's lots of ladies that take these products as well as HRT. So they are vegan, so no fishes were harmed in the process of making these. So we go straight to the source, so that which is the algae that the fish feed on. And also our capsules are bioavailable, which means that the body recognizes these, so they're not synthetic like shop bought products. So they go straight into your bloodstream. They're stored, which is why we see so many great testimonials. They also contain EPA and DHA, which are essential omega fatty acids, and they also contribute to the maintenance of brain, eye, and heart health as well. So where I mentioned earlier about estrogen receptors all over our body in the decline in menopause. So omega-3 is a highly recommended supplement for menopause. So an omega-3 actually contains lignin compounds which can have a weak estrogen effect. So lignans can trick the body into thinking that they are estrogen and combine to estrogen receptors taking place of stronger estrogen cells, which kind of explains why we see these fantastic testimonials of how they can improve your menopause symptoms. The lutein and the lycopene in the omegas are phytoestrogens, and they are a special group of phytonutrients which are obtained from plants. So phytoestrogens interact with estrogen receptors and can have an impact on your hormones. So lutein does just that. And research has shown that lutein can also help reduce cortisol levels, which we were talking about earlier, and how important it is to not let those cortisol levels be heightened, because that can have such an effect on all the hormones and weight gain and anxiety and all sorts of other different changes as well. So the premium capsules as well that I mentioned earlier and that Pamela mentioned that she takes, which include a variety of fruit, veg, and berries, a variety of 30 different types. It's really important to include fruit and veg in our diet, especially as we're going through the menopause. It's so important to look after our gut health. Our gut is responsible for 70% of our immune systems. So actually that would explain as well why, why, I mean, my immune system has been so strong, and, I've not had hardly any coughs and colds and things. And I think, like you mentioned as well, Pamela. So before we go into a question and answers, I just wanted to mention, that I am, I have joined this business. I do go on to recommend these products, and this is kind of how my menopause calls have come about, really. I mean, I've got my menopause group as well. So, if it's something that you're interested in, I mean, at the moment we do have a special offer. You can actually join our business for £1. It's normally £50 to join this business. So, if you were interested in the products, it's worth even joining just to get a discount on your own products if, financially that's something that you were concerned about. So if it's something that you'd be interested in, obviously, you can contact the person that invited you to the call. So yeah, so if anybody's got any questions for myself, Pamela, or Hazel, you can either unmute yourself, or if you want to put some comments in the chat. Can I just ask you, Hazel, do you work with people face to face, or do you do it remotely?
So I do both. I do some face-to-face sessions, but I'm in Wales. I also work online. I work one-to-one, and I also do some group work. Although I'm absolutely not opposed to anybody having any form of HRT journey, we are, really open to whatever people are feeling is right for them, but we are advocating for a more holistic approach. So it is looking at, ways of reducing stress, using and learning some well-being tools that you can implement in your life, to notice when your red flags are kind of pinging up, and learn to ground and soothe your own system. Learning some techniques which are working with the pelvic floor, because a lot of women and people at this time in their lives are losing the tonic in their pelvic floor. Might have some incontinence stuff going on, or for some women, without wanting to scaremonger in any way, it can lead to prolapse. It's really common and totally avoidable. We're also looking at gut health, so learning how to make our own kimchi, which is a very healthy and easy food which supports your gut bacteria. Basically, you can also eat live yogurts and things. I'm sure you're aware of all of that. So we are focusing on well-being in all aspects. Mainly my the stuff I'm doing is around psycho-spiritual experience. Yeah.
Brilliant. So it's very sort of au naturel, isn't it, what you're doing? And that's obviously helped your symptoms. And you said that you're on top of your stress levels now, and that's obviously helped massively as well.
I know my cues, and I know the things that work for me. And when life gets challenging, which at times it does, I know what I need to do. And I think that's the key, really, is just pacing, isn't it? Going at a pace that in this busy world, when we still have people we might be responsible for, jobs we have to show up for, there's a lot going on. So it's totally possible.
Absolutely. I mean, when our parents were going through the menopause, it was completely different, because I think a lot of us now are working mums, whereas our mums were probably at home looking after. They were at home, when we got home from school. I know my mum was, whereas we're all running around 100 miles an hour now, working full time, juggling kids and jobs, and and actually that in itself is a big stress, isn't it? So I think the society that we live in today is probably why we see more people struggling with menopause, I think
that's absolutely right, and it is really hard to do all of those things, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we do it because we have to, and it doesn't necessarily help us in terms of our stress and our lifestyle, and yeah, exactly. We're running around trying to do everything at 100 miles an hour, and actually it's not good for our bodies really, but that's life, isn't it? Unfortunately. We just
It
have
does
to
appear
manage
to be
it.
the life we're living. Yeah, and a recent study in the States showed that 70% of people, and that's not even people in menopause specifically, felt they were suffering from anxiety. I think it's a challenging time on many levels. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. We've got literally just over a minute left on the call, so if anybody did have any other questions for Hazel or Pamela, otherwise I think that's wrapped the call up quite nicely time-wise. So no, there's no other comments in the. Oh, Sarah, have you got a question? Are you waving? No. Oh, you're. I thought you were waving. Okay then, ladies. So well, thank you all so much for joining the call. I hope you found it useful, and I'll stop the recording and